Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sharing my 30-day transformation on the Lion Diet. Now, it's been over a year since I've actually done the diet. And if you haven't heard of what the Lion Diet is, basically it's an extremely carnivore-like protocol consisting of meat, salt, and water. Now, I'm a type 1 diabetic and currently in my late 20s, basically 30 years old. And I wanted to know what would really happen if I push my body into this strict nutritional experiment. And so today we're highlighting everything that happened between day 0 and day 30, and also all the way to over a year later, which is today. First and foremost, we're gonna talk about these different things: my blood sugars and insulin changes during the experiment, after the experiment, all that. We're gonna talk about some of my lab results, my testosterone, my A1C. We're gonna talk about skin health, mainly eczema. And we're also gonna talk about physical, mental health, energy, and of course, what I plan to do next and other experiments that we're gonna try on the channel. So before we get started, I wanted to talk about sort of the timeline of how everything played out and what happened during this challenge. If you haven't seen the challenge, this is actually just as good, except for not as detailed. So day 0, we sort of set the baseline of what's gonna happen. And what that means is I ran some labs, my A1C, my free testosterone, and I even did a mile time test. I also started my diet plan. Now, this wasn't the full Lion Diet because I wanted to transition myself and my body into it without being too extreme, because a lot of things happen when you change your diet entirely. So what I did was I started with a hybrid week, basically starting with some eggs, minimal veggies, and then transitioned by week 2 into a full Lion Diet. And as a diabetic, I kept juice and honey for emergencies only. Now, if you're not a diabetic, you probably could just get away with doing the Lion Diet, maybe with a handful of berries at least to start, but I wanted to be safe. This is my first time doing it. I also had some supplements going into it, which cover any of my macronutrients that I'd be missing from plants. Week 1 is where I fully transitioned to that Lion's Diet. And so I went to the farmer's market, I started cooking beef ribs, everything that you'd think that I would be cooking, I did in week 1. And this part was really, really hard, mostly because I was still adjusting to no processed food, no caffeine, and minimal carbs. And for me, I had low energy, I had fluctuating blood sugars, and my insulin sensitivity started to improve very quickly. And so I had to also dramatically reduce my insulin intake. This was good because it showed, wow, my body's so much better on this diet, but at the same time, my energy and things like that weren't necessarily adjusting to it. So it was kind of this weird, like, early signs showing positive results, and then other things are showing negative results, right? And then weeks 2, 3, 4, I went full Lion mode. My morning routine got to switch up. I started working out more consistently, and I had to glucose monitor a lot less, although it felt like I was doing it more just to be safe. But in terms of like actually keeping my blood sugars down and not needing as much insulin, all of that happened in week 2 and 3 and 4. So my diet was purely meat, salt, water. I sometimes squeezed out a little bit of lemon water, herbal tea, no coffee, which was the biggest shift for me personally, and basically no veggies. So what happened to my brain? Well, I felt clear mentally. I don't know how to explain it besides that. And I had less fogginess, less energy spikes and downs. It was more baseline. Also, my digestion improved, and I basically had zero bloating. My eczema, both on my leg and a little bit under armpit, completely disappeared, and my skin was clear, smoother, healthier, and I also had way less itchiness, dryness, or flare-ups. And something that I realized later is I also am allergic to a lot of things outside, and during the Lion Diet, I had hardly any flare-ups, which means I probably was able to fight off those allergies a lot better because I was so consistent with my diet. Now, day 30, this is where I had technically my second cheat meal because I had one during the challenge. I just couldn't bear myself to just do that and not share with you guys. So there's a video where it says I cheated, and it's literally that. I had to have one cheat meal. I think it was a burger, just without the bun, but like, you know, veggies and things like that, sauces. And it was just like the most delicious thing ever. And although it didn't impact me very much during the diet, it helped so much to be able to push through the last few days of the challenge. The second cheat meal, the official cheat meal that I had on day 30, which was like the very first official thing, which was a burger and some juice. Immediately, like literally the next morning, my skin broke out, which was a big contrast from, you know, the 30-day challenge to the next 30 days post-challenge. I, at this point, was also taking a significantly less amount of insulin, almost a fourth. I believe over half of my insulin that I usually take had been removed. I didn't need it, and my body was doing just fine. So I had to increase that, but even with that increase, my blood sugars spiked pretty hard, requiring, you know, extra Lantus, which if you don't know, it's just basically like long-lasting insulin. insulin. But despite all of that, I felt grateful, proud of the journey. I thought it was super fun to do. And I think that more people should try it, because I don't know if you have health problems or certain things that are bothering you, or you want to see if this diet might work for you. I mean, the simplicity of it was awesome as well, right? Like, I knew every day when I was going to eat, what I was going to eat, and it made picking meals a breeze, right? Because it's going to be beef, or it's going to be, just more meat again. But I wanted to also cover some of the things that I found that were results oriented, not just like how I felt or like little things, right? So my A1C improved dramatically, like over a point difference. And this is with my insulin usage also dropping over half, like across the board. And who knows, if I would have done this for a year, maybe I'd be off insulin entirely. I don't know, can't speculate on that, but that's in 30 days, it was a huge difference. My testosterone also initially dropped, but after doing some research, it was likely due to the low calories during the cut of the diet. And since then, it's increased significantly, probably thanks to more calories, increased workout intensity, more conscious eating, better hormonal balance. And I thought it might not come back, but I'm glad it did, because I was starting to get worried that I might have messed up my internal hormones from jumping from one diet to the other. The other thing that also improved was my mile time. My mile time, it was not by a huge amount of time, but my mile time did improve, even with the glucose issues, even with shedding the weight, even if not feeling good in the beginning. So that was very interesting to see. A lot of times people will say that, if you don't have enough calories, your cardio and your overall strength is gonna suffer. And even with my reduced in testosterone, I actually felt stronger and I was lighter after that 30 days. But what happened a year later? Over a year later, these were kind of the results. So obviously it took a while for my hormones to fully regulate again after that diet. I would say initially it took probably 6 to 9 months before I had regained all my strength and my weight. So during that challenge, I lost over 10 pounds on the diet and have since gained it back. But with that came a lot of struggle because it took a long time to do it. I was stronger on that. And so when I switched back to my regular diet, I felt not as strong. And because of my hormonal imbalances after the diet, losing that 10 pounds, my strength actually sort of plateaued and in fact probably decreased a little bit. Since then, it has gone up and I'm now stronger than I was ever before. And I also have been able to consistently keep the weight on for longer than I have ever before, which is good. And I'm not gaining like excess fat or anything, because that could have also been a problem. That was the initial reaction that I was not expecting, but sort of happened. And then the other thing that happened is my eczema is still basically gone. I have more breakouts in terms of my skin, which is probably due to it being spring out right now. My allergies are probably coming back, but my eczema itself, even months and year plus later, is still gone. And it's one of those changes that has kind of lasted, even though the diet only lasted 30 days. Now, in a follow-up video, I was thinking I want to try the Brian Johnson blueprint routine, which is like the anti-aging routine, to see how that would affect my body. I don't know if that's going to be a 30-day thing or a 3-month thing, but this time I'm going to use the Oura Ring, which is going to give me a ton more data on things like sleep, my cardiovascular age, how I feel. I'm also going to check in with you guys on how I look and much, much more. If you guys want to see a daily series, I could do that, but more likely it's just going to be a big video that's going to break down everything from the start to the end. So if you want to see that journey, make sure to subscribe. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And the other question I wanted to answer that I've seen people ask is, would I do this again? And my thought initially was no. I don't want to put my body through that. But after more and more thinking, I think I probably would. In fact, sometime in 2026, I might do that same Lion diet mixed with the blueprint, as long as that goes well, the Brian Johnson routine, for maybe 2-3 months. Now, it's not going to be quite as extreme. I'm going to be also somewhat flexible with certain things, maybe adding some veggies, still having some fruit, things like that. But overall, I still want it to be mostly carnivore, but just smarter caloric control, because I think that was part of the reason why I lost so much weight. So trying to incorporate that into the blueprint routine, I think that'd be cool. So let me know what you think about me doing that. And if you want to see more videos like this, me trying different diets, trying to basically change the way I feel, the way I look, the way that my body responds to certain things like allergies, for example. I'm okay with putting my body through a little bit of hell for both the, scientific aspect and also maybe for your entertainment, as long as it doesn't cause me too much pain. But if you're thinking of trying the Lion diet or any other extreme protocol, make sure you do your own research, talk to a healthcare professional, especially if you have other things that you're worried about, like type 1 diabetes, for example, for me, and make sure to always track your data, because then it gives you and other people that follow your journey the insights that might help them along their journey. So this one for me was one of the most insightful insightful health experiments I've ever done, and I plan to do it more, and I plan to document more. So if you want to see more videos like that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, if you want to let me know what you'd like to see next, the best way you can do that is letting me know down in the comment section what you'd like to see next, and hopefully with enough people's requests, I will be able to do it. And subscribing and liking is a great ways that you can help basically finance me doing these challenges, because they're not cheap, they're not free, especially not recording these and making content out of it as well. Fortunately, I'm able to do this because of my full-time job and also my other channel that you can check out, which is Investing with Rue. If you haven't been there before, go check it out. There's a lot of financial, business, life, all kinds of videos on there that I think you'll enjoy if you enjoy this content. So hopefully I'll see you on there, and as always, make sure to follow along for more. And YouTube thinks that you're gonna enjoy one of these pieces of content as well. See you guys in the next one. Peace.